Here are the stories we're covering this week in the Category 5.tv newsroom. Amazon has purchased PillPack, an online pharmacy, for nearly $1 billion. Adidas warned late on Thursday that hackers may have taken customer data from its U.S. website. An experimental robot with an animated cartoon face has been sent to the International Space Station on board a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, and Facebook is giving up on its plan to create drones that beam down internet connectivity. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
Jeff Weston,
Yeah, man.
you're building a brand new, beautiful website,
What?
aren't you?
No. Am I?
Oh, you're a terrible actor.
What?
This is where acting comes into play.
Oh, I didn't know we were acting.
You're supposed to act.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
I'm building a really cool website. Are you building a really cool website? Just because Jeff is confused doesn't mean you have to be. Visit cat5.tv/dreamhost to sign up for unlimited web hosting for your website with unlimited email accounts, MySQL databases, the latest version of PHP, WordPress, and more, and even a free domain name registration. It's less than $6 per month, so sign up today. cat5.tv/dreamhost.
This is the Category 5.tv newsroom, covering the week's top tech stories with a slight Linux bias.
I'm Sasha Rickman, and here are the top stories we're following this week. Amazon has purchased PillPack, an online pharmacy, for nearly $1 billion. A week after appointing a CEO for its healthcare joint venture with Berkshire Hathaway and JP Morgan, Amazon announced on Thursday an acquisition that underscores how it also hopes to have a more direct and more commercial role in the world of healthcare in the coming years. The company has purchased PillPack, an online pharmacy that lets users buy medications in pre-made doses. Terms of the deal have not been disclosed by Amazon, but sources close to the deal say that it was for just under $1 billion. PillPack had reportedly been in talks with Walmart for an acquisition, but Amazon came along offering more. PillPack has a license to operate in all 50 states in the U.S., but it doesn't seem to be operational in international markets. In the Pharmacy OS, the system that it built that forms the basis of the company, is a platform that helps manage patient data and figure out how to balance medications together in safe doses for its customers. PillPack was last valued at $361 million after a round of funding in 2016. This deal is expected to close in the second half of 2018.
It just goes to show how much they're banking on this being a success, that they'd pay like 3 times its value.
Well, of course it's going to be a success in that when you watch any amount of TV and you see the commercials for medications, like they're constant. Mm-hmm. So I get that. But I also, I have a far more, I guess, a preventative healthcare kind of mindset.
Right.
So I worry about people being able to just order off of Amazon medications that may or may not be best for them. I'm assuming they'll have to produce some amount of prescription for some of the, right? Like there must
yeah, I'd imagine so. There would have to be some medical
I'm sure
right?
connection. Yeah.
But then it's not even just that. It's the fact that Amazon recently has had that couple that were charged in the fraud where they were receiving things and then saying that they were damaged or they hadn't received them.
Right.
And they were able to scam Amazon for tons of money. I can't remember what the exact figure is. So now when you're putting in pharmaceuticals into the mix, and those are sometimes life-saving and sometimes very addictive, so you're doing that and you're expecting people to leave the packages on the doorsteps.
I can't, yeah.
Right?
And I can't sit in front of Amazon and control myself.
Right.
I buy what Amazon tells me I need to buy.
Right.
Oh, you also probably want to add this to your cart. You know, how many people are falling into that? So now when it comes to medication, that's a whole other can of worms.
Exactly. And I know that in Canada it's different, but in the States I know, well, it's not completely different in Canada, to be honest, but doctors do make a lot of money on kickbacks from medications that they'll prescribe, right? So
yes. How does that change things?
Right. So then if you're in a doctor's office and they have a computer, right? And they give you a prescription, are you then going to feel more pressure to actually fill that prescription? Because it's that easy, versus perhaps going home thinking about it and think, oh wait, maybe I can do that with diet and exercise as opposed to a pill.
I wonder too, though, because this has to be shipped to you.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 2-day shipping probably. So is this more like for people who, this is just a kind of a rhetorical question, but is it more for people who are on regular medications, things that are recurring treatments, essentially?
This is where I kind of side with Jeff in that there should be like a human component to it. I like the idea that Walmart would have bought PillPack, because you have to go to the, you have to go and see a person, and that person will say, oh wait, no, you don't look like you need this. It's gonna, you know, maybe take that instead.
Well, I think having a couple of options is good, right? And I think the idea of, you know, whether medications are healthy or whether there are alternative ways, that's one side of maybe a different argument. I think this is just another way of consumption, right? So in terms of the scammers, you know, you have the proverbial man who grabs, like, goes to a doctor, you know, a doctor, could be a naturopath even, grabs like 10 sheets of prescriptions and just does the signing that doctors do, and you have the same problem, right? So, because I think this could be of benefit to people who are taking medications or who go to a pharmacy regularly but maybe want a little more privacy.
Right. It would be good for people who can't travel outside their home.
That's what I was just thinking, like the elderly or infirm who need their prescriptions filled.
I guess the other Amazon story about the couple that scammed Amazon, it's just too recent for me. Like I
can understand that for sure.
So. Adidas warned late on Thursday that hackers may have lifted customer data from its U.S. website. The sportswear maker said that personal data, including contact information, addresses and email addresses, and encrypted passwords, may have fallen into the hands of criminals, but was able to reassure customers that neither financial nor fitness information was at risk. According to the preliminary investigation, the limited data includes contact information, usernames, and encrypted passwords, it said. Adidas has no reason to believe that any credit card or fitness information of those consumers was impacted. The company has notified law enforcement and brought in experts to help investigate the breach, which Adidas says it became aware of on the 26th of June after claims by an unauthorized party implying that the breach was only detected once hackers attempted to sell the data. This leaves an as of yet unspecified number of customers at heightened risk of unusually convincing phishing emails. Extra vigilance and changing passwords is advisable.
Gotcha. So that's the fear when you have a data theft like this. It's like, oh, well, my username, I can change my username.
Right.
What if you didn't hear the story and you get that phone call? You deal with this every day.
Yes. There's definitely an educational process that I feel at some point should be put into schools, actually. Because,
you know, that's smart,
Because I think that the young people, as well as people in older generations, even myself, going through cybersecurity training, learning about some of the basics now, what's considered basic now in terms of internet use, is not basic from 10 years ago, and it's not basic from 20 years ago.
And if they have personal information about you, it can be very convincing. That phone call, that's fake email or that fake snail mail. If they have your address, they can send you actual letterhead-looking, you know, government documents for collections or whatever.
Even things like clicking on a email that looks kind of funny, or even by accident, it signaled that you clicked on something and that you're a real person and that you should be sent more. So these kinds of things, or a funny email that you're just like, oh, that's kind of funny, you know, some scam, blah, 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 and you open it up just for fun, it's signaling that you're a real person. And these kinds of things are items that, like for myself especially, I've learned a lot in the last... Even just the last couple of months, there's so much to know to prevent these things from happening.
With how often this is happening, and it always says at the end of every story I read, change your password. How often really should I be changing my password? Right? Because I know no matter what, we're all at risk. at some point from some. This is Adidas. Like, this doesn't seem like something that you would even care about, but eventually you have to.
If I can put one piece of advice onto that before answering the question directly, it would be don't replicate the passwords across multiple platforms. So if somebody compromised my Adidas account, now we understand that these are encrypted passwords, but encryption can be decrypted. And as soon as they figure out the master key, they can decrypt that. So then they'll have a database full of passwords. So if you've also used that Adidas password as the example on online banking or on your email, oh dear, now they've got access to that as well. So they already have your email address, and now they've decrypted your password. You've used that same password, now they can access your email. If it's Gmail, maybe they change your password, and then they do a forgot password on your online banking to get access to that. So never replicate the same password across many different platforms.
And we've done it before where people use like the password generator or calculator, or there's a formula.
Oh, like a password recipe?
Yes, a password recipe.
Yeah, that's kind of my strategy, is to have a recipe for passwords so that you don't ever write down your password. You write down the recipe for the password. Right. And I'll refer you back to our website. Go to category5.tv, do a quick search for password recipe, and you'll learn all about that. But I think it's a very valid way to do it. So I would look at something like, okay, if my desk here, I've got a Bluetooth keyboard, I've got another Bluetooth keyboard, I've got a laptop, so I think of a recipe. So and the recipe becomes my password. So laptop is part of the recipe, but the actual password is Dell. I've got a counter over here, and its name is Tim. So I'll maybe put my recipe is now laptop, counter, keyboard, and my password is now Dell Tim Artec. Right. So I never wrote down Dell Tim Artec. I wrote down laptop, timer, keyboard.
Smart.
So it's a recipe for that password. I'll never forget it. Nobody will ever guess it. Nobody will even figure it out if they see my note.
Right. This story could prompt everybody to go ahead and change their passwords, which would be great. You should be doing that often. But it's really important once you change your password to know your password.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Password managers help big time. So I have a master password for my password manager that is based on my password recipe. And I could tell you my password recipe and you never guess my password. You'll never figure it out. But that master password now unlocks all of these crazy 64-digit random strings that are my actual passwords to Twitter, my online banking, all these things. So... but I only need to remember my password recipe.
Right. How comfortable are you in that you don't change your passwords that often, or do you?
Anytime I have I hear of an exploit, so I subscribe to a service called Am I Owned, and with that service, they will email you if any of your information is ever owned.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a helpful service, and so I get an email when, oh, okay, LinkedIn just got hacked and my email address, password, and some other information has been exploited. So now I go onto LinkedIn and I change my password. But my password on LinkedIn is completely separate from everything else.
Right.
I never had to remember the LinkedIn password because it's randomly generated by my password generator. And I'm just memorizing my master password recipe.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Robbie, you probably wouldn't be able to do all of those things if you were a perfectly organized person.
You don't think?
Well, something in there. I'm sorry. You know what? I had my piece. I'm just going to set that aside. Let me just say that that's just brilliant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Phew. Oh, I'm not in trouble. I'm not in trouble for being disorganized. Perfect.
Not in any way.
Oh, good.
Thank you. An experimental robot with an animated cartoon face has been sent to the International Space Station on board a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Dubbed Simon, short for Crew Interactive Mobile Companion, the device is intended as an AI-based assistant for astronauts. Simon weighs 5 kilograms here on Earth, but in zero gravity, it will float and move itself around using 14 internal fans. It is an attempt to find out whether robots and astronauts can collaborate. To this end, Simon is equipped with microphones and cameras that help it recognize Alexander Gerst, the German astronaut with whom it will work. An offline button has been designed for Simon, which allows Gerst to avoid having audio streamed to servers on Earth during moments of privacy. IBM engineer Matthias Biniak said, "Right now our main mission is to support the astronauts with their daily tasks to save time, because time is the most valuable and most expensive thing on the ISS." Simon, which speaks English, was developed by Airbus and IBM for the German National Space Agency, DLR. It will be able to give astronauts instructions to help them carry out scientific experiments, and will be able to respond to verbal questions as well.
Okay.
I, of course, love this and already would like a Simon.
And zero-G
Yeah.
be helpful. All these
Wow.
things take me back to the Mars mission and how this could so easily be translated to that, and I wonder if that's the direction.
I bet. I wonder whether or not they could use this idea, obviously not with fans whizzing around so that there's a robot just floating in space, but in places where people are typically isolated, right? So deep sea missions or you know, secret servicey sort of things, right? Where people need to feel like they have interactions, even maybe prison systems where you really just need to feel a connect but can't easily.
I think that's interesting because I feel that connection is maybe I'm a traditionalist. I just feel that the connection part and feeling connected is a people thing, and that AI creates. But I don't know. Who knows? But the part I do like about Simon is the fact that it has a face. That's kind of cool. I want to see the face. Actually,
adorable.
It probably is adorable, right? And I think the benefits of such a program is that they can stay real chill when they're giving instructions. I think that's a great benefit.
Right.
And being offline too, that's kind of nice, you know, a little bit of privacy when you're, you know, maybe having a stress moment, let's say when you're trying to do A, B, and C, that doesn't have to be recorded. I think that's brilliant. It's very friendly.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a friendly
very
face.
nice.
I don't know that you need to have another person for a connection. I just watched a hilarious Netflix movie called Tao. And it is, I don't want to spoil it in any way, and I don't need you to watch it, but it's great. It's about a house, like a completely automated house, and the captive inside of it, and how she bonds with the house.
Dave. He looks up.
It's good.
Yes, Hal?
See, it's the sort of situation where I can see where AI can take you to emotional places.
I think being able to take AI off of the phone, off of the Alexa devices, off of the Google Home, and put it into this is a rudimentary kind of, you know, mock-up test for the space station. But as I say, could something like this make its way to the Mars mission when it occurs and be a tool of information? Because in space travel, you're not going to have access to Wikipedia. You're not going to have access to YouTube where you can learn how to fix a lawnmower. Yes, I know what a carburetor is now. But so now take that, put it into the confines of this box, and turn it into something that is a tool for those same purposes that we use Wikipedia and YouTube for.
Exactly.
Interesting. You know, I think that I wonder, and I know I'm playing a bit of the devil's advocate here, but I wonder though if, like, let's say you were going on a space mission into infinity, and let's just say you're just gone for a long time, and once you come back, let's say you don't come back, then I think having an AI would be like fantastic because they can interact with you, and you don't have to worry about, you know, the perfection of that interaction blinding you a little bit to how people really are, which is like a little unpredictable, you know, and not just unpredictable, but human. Like, we're human, we make mistakes. So maybe the AI, if it were, you know, imperfect the way we are, I think that would work.
Right.
But a perfect, you know, because what I notice, for example, when I use Google Maps, I go in the wrong direction, and the Google Maps person is just like, oh, just keep on going along this and just take a left. And it's super cool because I'm basically never making a mistake.
They're not judging you.
I am making a mistake big time, but it's very non-judgmental, and it helps because I'm able to drive calmly and not worry that I made a mistake.
Okay.
But imagine having interactions consistently with an AI and everything you say goes. Imagine coming back to the planet Earth and then, you know, there should be mistakes because we're human. And anyway, this is going probably into a different direction.
But
my mind is going, and I'm thinking about.
Lucky that Girth gets Simon, and they gave Tom Hanks in Castaway volleyball. So
my final thought on this one is because it takes me to HAL in 2001: Space Odyssey, and you don't want that to occur. What I like about this is it's autonomous and disconnected. This is something that I can interact with as a cosmonaut or astronaut and not fear it taking over my ship or my space station or the breathing capabilities.
Right.
Final thought.
Another Facebook story. Facebook is giving up on its plan to create drones that beam down internet connectivity. Project Aquila, first announced in 2014, failed to achieve the long flight times managed by airborne connectivity efforts from the rivals, including Google. In one test, Facebook's craft suffered a broken wing as it came down into land. The company said that it would instead partner with firms such as Airbus to continue its efforts to connect more people to the internet. The decision means that the closure of a facility in Bridgewater, UK that had been used to build the technology. In a blog post, Facebook's director of engineering, Yale Maguire, said it's been exciting to see leading companies in the aerospace industry start investigating this technology too, including the design and construction of new high-altitude aircraft. He goes on to say, given these developments, we've decided not to design or build our own aircraft any longer. The Project Aquila craft had the wingspan of a Boeing 737 and weighed the same as a typical family car. It was solar-powered during the day and battery-powered at night, and in testing, managed 90 minutes in the air. However, Facebook's effort paled in comparison to Project Loon, a similar idea using high-altitude balloons rather than drones. It is being worked on by X, the experimental arm of the Google parent company Alphabet. Project Loon balloons have flown more than 15 million miles of tests, with the longest continuous flight lasting almost 190 days. In 2017, the balloons were used by residents of hurricane-ravaged Puerto Rico. So Project Loon always gets the win for me.
I know.
But Facebook, you know how I feel about you, but Facebook, it needs to focus on what it's really great at. And it's not beaming internet down via drones, it turns out.
But I hear some kind of subtle nuance to what you're saying in the story, in that Google, Alphabet, Project Loon, these are all separate entities, where Facebook is Facebook, social media platform, and has its hands in so many different things. I think Google's approach is going to they are successful, as unimaginably successful, and I think that approach is part of that, to specialize and create companies that specialize within a blanket of Alphabet.
Exactly.
So I think initially I'd be sad that this is coming to a close. This is something that we were really excited about.
Yes.
But to know that a big company like Google has taken over the acceleration to being able to bring stratospherical, and they've already
done it. They already helped residents of Puerto Rico. They were able to keep those balloons in the air. I remember when we were talking about it happening.
Yeah,
I love it.
And I, again, you know, why am I thinking about Mars all the time? I don't know, but I'm thinking about how the balloons can be, you know, a connection to Earth, and, you know, maybe get these up in the air. Who knows?
Up in the stratosphere.
I can't. But drones just don't seem the way to go. And maybe that's what they realized and said, hey.
Drones, I mean, if you needed just 90 minutes of internet, you'd be fine. So, big thanks to Roy W. Nash and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us this week. Thanks for watching the Category 5.tv newsroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all your tech news with a slight Linux bias. And for more free content, be sure to check out our website. From the Category 5.tv newsroom, I'm Sasha Rickman.